Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.
Yeah. Well, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. We are back at it again. Brand new day, brand new energy, and the conversation remains the same because the hot topic across the world is the arrest of President Nicolas Maduro and the subsequent indictment yesterday in New York City and the legal ramifications of such action. I can safely tell you, major parts of the discussion today will be surrounding that breaking development. It's an ever-fluid story. Jason Williams signing on from Level 4 here in Port of Spain, Guardian Media Building. It's time for the Morning Brew. Well, good Tuesday morning, Trinidad and Tobago, running in as always with passion, purpose, and energy. Today, Tuesday, the 6th of January, 2026. As mentioned before, JW signing in. I'm here with the team, and I can safely tell you, today's program, it is going to be truly informative. We're going to tackle the developments out of Venezuela from a couple of fronts, from the energy fallout and what's, well, at least the potential of this new development. Also, we look at the legal ramifications, the legal aspect of the discussion. And then later on, we, as always, open the lines, give you a chance to get in. And as per usual, the digipreneur, Karen Rose, will join us towards the end of the program for today, Tuesday. But let me get to the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian immediately. A couple of big talking points. Of course, the UN says the removal of Maduro was unlawful. That story is on page 7, and obviously we could already tell that president or former president, not sure how to what's his designation at this point in time, but that's going to be a major legal defense. It's the same one that was used by Manuel Noriega, but it was dismissed by the US courts back then, and many suspect the same will take place, but he pleaded not guilty. There are also reports coming out of Caracas last evening of, well, unconfirmed reports. See, sometimes you're seeing things play out. And again, before I even go to that, I mean, look at this image here. You know, from one time to, they say after one time is the next, huh? This man a couple of weeks ago up to last week, matter of fact, his last act as president was meeting with some Chinese delegates, a delegation from China. I'm sure working out whatever deals, and now he is in a prison that's described as hell on earth. That's the same place they would have held the likes of R. Kelly and Epstein's wife and a couple others. They say it's not a nice facility at all. Concrete slab, stainless steel toilet. They suspect the light will be on 24/7. It's very cold. Real downgrade from the lap of luxury that once was part of his daily routine. So this particular scenario will play out in the courts in New York for the weeks and months to come as to what the result and how it will go. Well, based on what transpired yesterday, it could only be described as, or at least I suspect it will be dramatic going forward with the kind of utterances and outbursts, and I'm sure the defense and the prosecution going head to head on this most controversial of cases. Watch out for Trump. Analysts warn Caribbean leaders to tread carefully following ouster of Venezuelan president. That story also develops here on page 6 and 7. I'm watching the development out of Nutrien. They're going to hold their hand on terminating workers. That story on page 5. And chaos at licensing over renewal fee. So that's a developing story. What we can say, and this is yesterday, well, I tell you, chaos. Now, yes, I know when it comes to, I would imagine, the rules and regulations, a couple of gray areas there, people what kind of fake news was jumping out during the Christmas season. But the reason I said chaos, when you go to any office and see this kind of crowd, for me personally, I turn it back. I am not, you see, there's a thing called choice in life, huh? And regardless of what, and you have to get your documents, whatever, you go to a place and that's what you're greeted with, to stand there and then you 2 hours pass, 3 hours pass, you get no service and you're going to get vexed. No, you have to get upset with yourself too. Yes, the system needs to get a particular structure, but at the same time, licensing, if you time your appointment, or at least time what you have to do, you'd have to go through this kind of long line and wait last minute and rush with everybody, because it's the same thing going on now with the inspection. Any inspection facility right now is long lines, cars line up. And I'm sure many could have probably done the inspection. I mean, I guess people doing it based on when they get the resources. I don't know what's the reason, but nonetheless, we sometimes wait very late to conduct business, and everybody want to come at the same time and get service at the same time, and they put pressure on the actual staff. Yes, I know there are some structural issues, and I have to say, I've seen some improvements with licensing. I myself had some business to conduct last year, right on Ryson Road. I went, they gave me an appointment. I went back on the said day of the appointment, and I was out of there, I kid you not, in less than an hour. The system was very professional, and let me tell you, I'm being honest here, truth be told, it was no, because it's JW for Morning Brew, and no, it was no visa face special operation. They dealt with me like a, because I am a regular citizen at the end of the day. Yes, I sit in a chair that puts me in a particular light. When I went there, the young girl and the mature lady to the back, they dealt with me like any other person who will be coming through the door to treat with the business. And I said, well, I get through real fast. So I guess it was based on timing. Timing is important. And also there's that option of choice. Again, if you could just, Sheldon, for a moment, just show, I mean, let's be real. You pull up to a business place, regardless of how critical your scenario is, you're going to stand up there? Unless it's life or death, or unless it really, I guess you have to get it done today, because I guess if it probably deals and treats with your business, or you need to have your car, your license. I mean, yes, if you have your license and you're on the road and with the kind of charge you have now, you don't want to go through that, so I understand. But my goodness, I feel I would have turned around and come back the next day, you know? Early, like real early. And then the question is, for those who might not even get the next day, that might be your only day off. So many moving parts and factors will call somebody to literally stand in this mess. But me personally, I'm not going through that. Yeah, I can't make, I would say no. You remember the days when the banks used to have long line and everybody didn't line up on a Friday, and you're there, and then man said, I make noise, oh, we're going with this line. I mean, you made a choice. Cool yourself, you know, and be patient and let it be done, because granted, I always say, we make noise, we know where to make noise. I go right back to this whole U.S. scenario. I've seen lines many a time by the U.S. Embassy outside on Marley Street. Long line. People stand up there sometimes in the blazing hot sun, and I never hear anybody raise their voice down there. So if we could have respect for the pavement on Marley Street and the U.S. Embassy, and when you're in a long line in Miami, Hollywood Airport, or in Miami Airport, or Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, or you're in JFK in a long line, or you're in Houston in a long line, I do not hear Trinbagonians making any noise. We stand up very quiet and we go through the process and get our passport stamp, and then we go our way. So we are selective in a way as to how we carry on. But then again, I guess home is home. Home is home, and certainly people will make noise at home. And if you're in an environment you're not close to home at all, you probably behave yourself. It's a conversation we could have later on. But that yesterday, that was some chaos there with the line. Let's move to the back page really fast, because I want to get into our conversation. No U-turn for Puran. He says, no, I'm not coming out retirement to be part of the World Cup. A good right here. And that's some action on the cricket side from the Ashes cricket test between, as always, Australia and England. Let's head to the brief on this Tuesday morning. So, two pictures to analyze here. Fed goers having a time, hands in the air, full flight. This is Soca in Mocha. I heard it was a tremendous success. Congrats, as always, to the Mocha team. Well done to Trinity College. One of the early and first all-inclusive events within the school all-inclusive product, and one of the first events to start off any and every carnival. So well done, Mocha. And, well, the Prime Minister there, 60% of schools are waiting laptops for Form 1 students as the new term restarts. And it will be fulfilled, I'm sure. We'll keep you posted with the developments. So, with that being said, former Energy Minister and now attorney at law, Kevin Ramnarine, joins me next to treat with the U.S. control of Venezuela oil and the impact for our Dragon gas field and cross-border cooperation. Kevin Ramnarine, energy expert and now attorney at law, joins me next.
This is Rishma. Rishma is on yet another date in a stressful quest for the one. She's not sure if he has dry humor or just dry. It seems her search must continue. Rishma is anxious about many things right now except one, her investments. First Line Securities, helping Trinidad and Tobago invest for almost 2 decades. Invest with us. Go to firstlinesecurities.com to begin investing today.
Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. That should big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Sumitomo, and Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Cuba, Chaguanas, and Pleasance Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
Good day, Trinidad and Tobago. A safer nation begins with you standing up, speaking out, and doing your part. As your Commissioner of Police, I am prepared to do my part. Are you prepared to do your part? Get on board. Are you on board?
I am Bishop Ezekiel Clark, President of the Cuba Police Station Community Council, and I am proud to say that I am on board with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in their fight against crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
I am Panis Dean Gulston. And I am Panis Johan Chakri. And crime prevention is everybody's business.
Hi, I am Sajina Kadir, attorney at law and team lead for the attorneys for the TTPS Community Justice Clinic. We support the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in the fight against crime.
Crime prevention is everybody's business. I am Shiraz Khan. I am a farmer. I support the TTPS in the fight against crime.
My name is Baldev Maraj, President of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Crime fighting is everybody's business.
We are all on board.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Kevin Ramnarine joins me on the Zoom line this morning, energy expert and now attorney at law. He was called to the bar last year. Let me say congratulations in that regard, Kevin. And
Thank
of course,
you.
Happy New Year.
Good morning, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Oh, loud and clear, man. And Happy New Year to you. Great to see you as always.
Thank you very much.
Kevin, of course, we're looking at some of the utterances from President Donald Trump when he did that press brief up on Mar-a-Lago last Saturday. And after establishing all the details of the arrest, he went into the business and he started to treat with the oil. And, well, prior to even that statement on Saturday, there were utterances from other top U.S. ranking officials that Venezuela stole their oil and they were going back to recoup what is rightfully theirs. So I'm trying to figure out how one could steal something that belongs to them. And more so, is this rhetoric, this language from Donald Trump a clear indication that all this is indeed to take control of the resources there and to, as he would have put it, get the wheels turning again on the aging and decrepit, I guess, the infrastructure that's really not taking their energy product to its full potential. What's your take on all the utterances and the current development?
Well, you know, if you want to understand, I don't want to sound like I'm an expert in any way, but you know, just from my understanding of, if you want to understand a lot of what drives the world and a lot of what drives decision making from a geopolitical level, it is this quest for securing energy resources, to some extent to water resources have become something which countries try to secure. And of course, things like arable land and so on. So that competition for resources has always defined international politics and, wars and disputes and so on. So this is nothing new, of course. We've had what is not an unprecedented set of events in the last 48 hours, as we discussed last night when we were speaking. We went back to Panama, and President Noriega, when he was extracted by the U.S. I think it was 1991. Is that the year?
Yeah, and that was more or less to treat with the trade. I mean, the Panama Canal is of paramount importance, and of course, to ensure that trade route is clear.
He hid in the Vatican embassy for a while until he surrendered to the U.S. and then he was taken to the U.S. and he died in a prison in France.
In France, yeah. He surrendered on 23rd of January, so there's lots of historical significance also to that particular date, January 3rd, when they arrested President Maduro.
Yeah. So it is not unprecedented. It has happened before. With regard to what's happened, the big question is what next? And of course, there was an expectation that the U.S. would have supported Ms. Machado. And President Trump, of course, came out and said, quite surprisingly, that she doesn't have the support, she doesn't have the respect within the country to hold the country together. Last night, I was reading a New York Times article that, came out quite recently in the last probably 12 hours, that attempted to do a deep dive into that decision, and apparently the CIA had come up with a dossier for the president that said that Ms. Machado, and this is what the New York Times is reporting, not Kevin Ramanarain saying this, the CIA said to the president that she could not, marshal the opposition in a manner in which that they could hold the country together post-Maduro. So I think they went towards this option of the vice president for purposes of continuity and so on. Of course, Vice President Rodriguez, now President Rodriguez of Venezuela, is somebody who is known to Trinidad and Tobago. She is the former, of course, she's the former vice president, but she's also the former Minister of Petroleum. So she's well known. I have met her a few times when I was Minister of Energy. She was involved in this whole Dragon deal process. She was intimately involved in that process. So she's fully aware. She, of course, has her own personal history. She and her family have been heavily involved in the socialist movement in Venezuela for going back to the time of her father and so on. So she's there now, and we don't know what next, because on the one hand, the president of the U.S. is saying that she is supportive, she will take instructions. And on the other hand, you're hearing some defiant rhetoric from her, which could be her talking to the base of the of her party, the Chavistas, and so on. So we don't know. And we here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have to keep a close eye on what's happening next door, because you know that old saying that we say in Trinidad, and we have many sayings in Trinidad about your neighbor's house.
On fire, yeah. Right? Wet yours?
Wet yours, right? Of course, last night, when we were speaking last night in preparation for this interview here this morning and so on, we were talking, there was a rumor of anti-aircraft fire on the social media, which turned out to be, I mean, based on what I saw some comments on social media, again, you can't verify these things. You don't know if it's AI or if it's real, but it seems that there was some drone, a private drone that was being flown close to around Caracas. So there was anti-aircraft fire. And this is just what I saw on social media. It's not reported anywhere on mainstream media. So it is an anxious time for Venezuela, for the region. We have had some flight cancellations in the region that affected Trinidad and Tobago too. I think flights have resumed to the normal schedule. But with regard to the US's reason, or in foreign policy, what they call the raison d'etat, right? With regard to the reason for the US doing what they did, I think it is a the oil is one dimension of it. Another dimension was the state of Venezuela and the exodus of people from Venezuela, 8 million people leaving that country probably in the last 15 years, and a lot of them moving to Latin America, Chile, Colombia, Trinidad, of course, Guyana, and many of them going to the US. So there was the largest exodus, refugee crisis, if you were to call it that, in the history of the Western Hemisphere. And this was a result not of a war or a drought. It was a result of economic hardship and so on.
Well, one could even probably suggest economic warfare, because with the embargoes and the kind of stringent fiscal measures put onto Venezuela by the U.S., the economy will crumble. And I look back at the source of all of this when Chavez at the time, who was president, decided to nationalize, take control, as it were, of the energy infrastructure. Then I guess that is why, and I guess you could let me know, because I'm trying to figure out how could someone say they stole our oil and we have to go back for what is ours.
So when it
doesn't belong to you. What does President Trump mean by that?
That statement really refers to the expropriation of the assets of companies like ConocoPhillips and Exxon and so on, who are American companies operating in Venezuela, who had their assets expropriated under the Chavez era. And those things, a lot of those things made their way to arbitration, as we know, in Trinidad, because 2 of those judgments have been registered in our courts, and those are judgments related to ConocoPhillips winning arbitrations in different arbitral bodies, right? So that is what I think that was referring to, right? So essentially, I mean, so there are many reasons why the U.S. did what they did. There's not one reason. It's a composite of reasons.
Kevin, could I ask something?
The important thing is what now? What happens next?
Well, could I ask? Because we all know that back in the day there was a movie called Return of the Dragon with Bruce Lee. Could we see a sequel, Return of the Dragon, starring our Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar? Because many are suggesting, with Maduro out of the way, and with Delcy now in charge, and with this, I guess, what's circulating, that she seems to be willing to cooperate with the U.S., with the U.S. having more control in Venezuela, it might work out in Trinidad and Tobago's favor, hence the reason we took the gamble and decided to help the U.S. in the first place. What's your take on all that kind of rhetoric?
If this, of course, you know, the OFAC license was when the Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar met with Secretary Rubio last year, I think it was October, around the time that there was the UN Assembly, and so on. The OFAC license was one of the outcomes of a meeting with Marco Rubio, was the OFAC license coming back, and it was given for a 6-month period, I believe, which ends in April. And of course, you know, she that was a product of her meeting with Secretary Rubio. And many people asked, well, why give it for 6 months? You know, what is this 6 months thing about? And perhaps he had known the timeline in his head and couldn't say it. But the OFAC license is there. Now, President Rodriguez had made a statement a few weeks ago that all agreements with Trinidad and Tobago were off the table. You remember that?
I remember.
And that all agreements with Trinidad and Tobago had been rescinded. So we don't know the legal status of the Dragon deal. There's also the Coquina Mannequin deal. People keep forgetting that one. I think that's an equally important arrangement, because Coquina Mannequin is something which is realizable in my view, from an engineering point of view, from a production point of view. It's very close to BP's assets on the southeastern coast. So if these things could materialize in the coming years, it would be good for Trinidad and Tobago, because you read a story about Nutrien when you were reading the papers this morning, and we know the situation there is largely as a result of the availability or lack thereof of natural gas. And that is a problem which is not going to go away in the medium term, right? And the Manatee project, which again, and there is a linkage between Manatee and Venezuela, because Manatee, of course, is a reservoir complex which we share with Venezuela. We happen to be producing the gas which is on our side. So ultimately, if we could get gas from Venezuela into Trinidad, that's good.
And I guess,
but the timeline for that, JW, is anybody's guess.
And the reality is, all this talk within the energy sector can only go forward if there's no social unrest, if there's no upheaval in Venezuela. Because
and if there is stability in Venezuela, you can't go and develop a manatee project and there is instability in Venezuela. The other point is the President of the United States and the U.S. Government keeps stressing American companies entering Venezuela to rebuild their energy infrastructure and their energy. And of course, you made the point that their energy infrastructure is now badly decayed. Their production is below 1 million barrels of oil per day. Their production is probably equal to what Guyana is producing right now. They used to produce, over 3 million barrels of oil per day as recent of maybe 12, 15 years ago. So their production has largely collapsed and their infrastructure is, of course, decaying. It's going to require a tremendous amount of money to bring back their oil industry. But of course, the prize is the largest reserves in the world of oil, around 300 billion barrels of oil proven reserves. And interestingly, something people don't talk about, but I checked it last night, 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, significant parts of which are within striking distance of Trinidad and Tobago, where we have a shortage. Mm-hmm. So if it could all work out in our favor, well, then that's great. But nobody at this point in time could really predict how this scenario will unfold.
And I guess, obviously, all of us from the outside looking in, and if you look at it through strategic lens, yes, there's a change of the leader that took up Maduro, but the institutions remain the same, the military remains the same, the assembly
and
remains the same.
There is no regime change in Venezuela. There is a change of the president.
Yeah, just a change of the head, the figurehead.
The government that President Maduro led is largely intact, and I mean these are facts and are in office. So there's no regime change. Delcy Rodriguez was very much part of the Maduro and Chavez administrations, and she's still there. So Minister Padrino is still there. So there's no regime change. What the U.S. is saying is that there's going to be a change in how they operate their country, and they will work closely with the United States and so on. We don't know to what extent that is actually going to happen, right? Because we're hearing a different rhetoric from the now president of Venezuela. She's been, sending mixed signals in that regard.
You think we should reach out? You think our energy minister, all the top brass in the energy sector should reach out, or should we wait and see? Is this a wait and see scenario? Or?
I think we have an embassy in Caracas, and I think it's a wait and see at this point in time. I think it really is very much a wait and see, and let's see how things evolve in the coming weeks. CARICOM too has adopted a wait and see approach. But I would say that foreign policy is a extension of national interest, right? The two are connected, of course. Your national interest is what determines your foreign policy. So ultimately, our national interest in Trinidad and Tobago is to secure resources of natural gas. There was a time I was looking at the data on the Ministry of Energy website. There was a time when, in the year 2000, half of the oil that was refined in Pointe-à-Pierre came from Venezuela. Of course, as you progress from 2000 to 2009, it declines. And after 2009, there's no oil from Venezuela being processed. But there was a time when we would refine their oil in our refinery in Trinidad, because the refinery was configured to refine that quality of oil. But our national interest, as I said, should determine our foreign policy. And our national interest is that we need to secure resources of natural gas and oil to keep our energy sector and, of course, by extension, our entire economy moving forward. And right now, as you know, the situation is that we don't have sufficient supplies of natural gas to run the industries in Point Lisas and Atlantic LNG and so on. I've been saying that on the show for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, you've been saying that for quite a while.
And the Venezuelan solution is one solution, and I say it's one of different solutions. Another solution is to focus on our own resources under our feet and develop our resources in the deep water, in the shallow marine, in the average depth water on land and so on. We still have a lot of resources that we could produce here in Trinidad.
Let me ask you, Kevin.
But there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in Venezuela.
Of course. On a personal note, as you wrap things up, what was your initial reaction when you saw the developments on television being played out live in front of the world last Saturday with the arrest of President Maduro?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I expected that they would. I don't think that the U.S. wants to commit boots to the ground, right? The U.S. has always had, since Vietnam, U.S. presidents have always been wary about boots on the ground, because boots on the ground mean, of course, negative PR, potential loss of life, body bags coming back to the United States, which is not good for any president. So I think that the U.S., they went for the option of the surgical strike, which was, of course, extremely well planned and extremely well executed. They lost nobody. We're now hearing about casualties on the Venezuelan side. They lost no military assets. It was obviously being planned for months. So it didn't come as a surprise. And then, of course, they had been building up the armada of assets in the region for some time. But the question now is what next for Venezuela and what next for the United States approach to Venezuela, and that will determine, a lot for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, Kevin Ramnarine, as always, sincere thanks. All the best for the new year. Let's touch base soon, and we'll keep our eyes on this ever-fluid story. That's right, Kevin Ramnarine, energy expert and now attorney at law, touching base with us here via the Morning Brew. Up next, we get into the legal ramifications of last Saturday's action by the U.S. We welcome a law consultant and senior lecturer to touch base and just to give some light on, again, legal authority and international law. That conversation up next.
Period nights don't have to look like this. Move less, wake up to change. So change for a real night's sleep with Always Overnight. Its 3 times protection system absorbs, locks the fluid, and keeps it away from your skin. For protected nights without leaks. Always.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
Are you tired of the same old boring drive home from work? Look no further. Get ready for the ultimate after-work rush with Freedom 106.5 FM's The Overdrive with Davey. Mondays to Fridays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let Davey take you on a thrilling ride of non-stop entertainment and education. He covers the topics of the day, delves into the latest food and lifestyle trends, and brings dynamic guests from exciting professions to share their professional stories and experiences. Take advantage of this energizing and engaging experience. Tune into Freedom 106.5 FM, Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for The Overdrive with Davey, the ultimate way to end your day with a bang.
Whoa. What do you think of Kamala's outfit? Now, her outfit. If her outfit is worn inside, is it really her outfit? All right?
We're going.
Are we doing people's work?
Yeah, where?
No, the people's work, it's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
no, it's done on CNC.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are. Welcome back. Before we get into that discussion regarding the legality of last Saturday's action, let's remind you ways you can connect and join me live on set or via our Zoom link. You're sending an email to tmb@cnc3.co.tt. That's our email address. Simple, nice, short, sweet, concise, to the point, and we will touch base soon. Let's head across now to our social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, and X. Very active on the social media link, and by all means, a great place to stay on point, I would say, and up to speed with all news and developments. Another place to do just that is our CNC3 mobile app, your #1 source for verified breaking news. It's not about being first, it's about being accurate. We stay on top of all local, regional, and international developments via that CNC3 mobile app. And what about the hallmark, the foundation of all of this? That's right, the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. This year, 108 years in the game. Before my time, your time, before our time combined. You know it's 108 years? That's plenty, That's right. You can visit guardian.co.tt for your 2026 subscription, so you can enjoy The Guardian on your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop, or your computer. Let's head across to our food for thought words to inspire on this Tuesday morning. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. Again, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. And obstacles will come up, because sometimes you will take a little look, there might be self-doubt, but it's to get back the tunnel vision, get the focus back in gear, and go for it. Whatever you have planned for yourself in 2026, make it happen. The hardest part of starting something is starting something. So just start, give it a start, and stay consistent. And with that, you'll get there. We take the pause, we come back. That's right. Oh, we have the weather? Oh, fantastic. Let's treat with the weather immediately with Jean-Marc, who is standing by. Good morning, Jean-Marc.
Good morning. In today's weather wrap, we head over to California, where the first few days of 2026 have been historic for some areas, but not in a good way. Record-setting king tides have hit sections of the state, causing flash flooding and significant damage. So far, it's been a soggy new year for many in the Golden State, where some streets have transformed into makeshift rivers. Severe storms struck across California over the past few days. Certain counties saw more than 4 inches of rain over a 48-hour period. On Sunday afternoon, many streets in the Bay Area were underwater after the overflowing of the Corte Madera Creek. Now, king tide is a term used in the U.S. for the highest predicted tides of the year for a coastal location, and U.S. officials said that these are the largest ones in the region since 1998. Some good news, though, the precipitation in Southern California is expected to ease this morning. Now we'll take a look at our local reservoir levels, especially after the relatively dry period we've experienced over the last few weeks. For December, Tobago observed above average rainfall, with most of that accumulating during the first week week in December. It comes as no surprise that the Hillsborough Reservoir level is at 99.9% capacity, basically near maximum. Meanwhile, those in Trinidad are in the mid to upper 90s, with Hollis just below the long-term average, or where we'd expect them to be at this time of year. And the other two are well above average and near maximum capacity. Now, this is certainly a good position to be in for the upcoming dry season, which the Met Office has not declared just yet. So let's take a look at today's forecast. The dry conditions are expected to continue, as we'll have a mostly sunny day with the very low chance of an isolated shower favoring the afternoon and evening. We may have a light breeze at times as well, but conditions should still be relatively warm with a high of 32 degrees Celsius. We can also expect similar weather for the remainder of the week, despite some minimal Saharan dust on Thursday. That's all for today's weather app. Back to you.
Thank you so much, John Mark. So we treat with legal authority and international law on the legal fallout of last weekend's action by the U.S. military with President Maduro, former president, I would imagine, at this point in time. That conversation up next.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488, 701-6680, 728-6786, or visit our website to order.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Calling all filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs, with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
Blessing, blessing, blessing everyone. I am Apostle Dr. Benny King with my wife, Reverend Stella King, inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. and to 6 a.m. on CNC3, and expect a wonderful change experience as we pray for you and your family and your nation.
Yes, join us on Joy Prayer Network, because the Word of God says we should pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing, because your miracle is just around the corner.
Law consultant and lecturer, Professor John Connectley, joins me on the Zoom line. Professor Connectley, let me thank you for the time and extend a New Year wishes to you, your family, and all your colleagues. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure being here with you this morning.
Let me ask you, Professor, as we get into the legal fallout from last Saturday's action by the U.S. military, could we describe what transpired as an arrest, an abduction, a kidnapping? I'm seeing so many different labels to what transpired. Some are suggesting a kidnapping, some are saying an abduction, and then, of course, many within the U.S. media, they are saying he is indeed arrested. It was a law enforcement exercise, and he is now in New York. He went yesterday to answer, or at least to put his plea in for the 25-page indictment. How do we label what transpired last week Saturday from the legal perspective?
Well, I think the most accurate term would be a kidnapping. He has been taken against his will to another location and now being charged with a crime.
And because of that, it brings me to the next question. If you are going to face an indictment and you're taken before the court, do we take into account the way you got to court? If it's deemed illegal, the way you got to the said court, could that be a consideration? Could that be a major line of defense? Because I know Noriega would have tried that back when he was also taken from Panama. And well, that fell short. The U.S. courts, you know, they dismissed that particular argument. Will this particular argument this time around hold any kind of a legal weight?
In the United States, it would not, which might come as a surprise to some people, because you would think under international law, and certainly under international law, this would still be a violation. But within the domestic law, the United States has adopted a doctrine that called Kerr-Frisbee, that the court does not care how you got to the court itself. And once you are before the court, they will go ahead and try you. Now, you still may have to suffer some legal ramifications internationally, whatever those might be, diplomatic or legal. But the court itself will go ahead and hear the case. And that was the case with Noriega. It's the case with, there have been a number of other examples as well. So as far as the U.S. legal system is concerned, they will still, the courts, unless they change their approach, will proceed to try him.
You know, when he had to put in his plea yesterday, he said, and this is President Maduro, that I am the president of Venezuela. He still considers himself such legally through international law. What's his particular status? Is he prisoner or is he still president?
He's both. And the other doctrine that might ordinarily protect him legally would be that he is a sitting foreign head of state and therefore has immunity from prosecution under U.S. law. However, the question of whether he is a legitimate head of state is an executive branch decision of recognition. And because the current administration says he was not elected in the last election legally, that he stole the election, he is no longer a sitting head of state for Venezuela. And therefore he is not recognized, and therefore the court will then proceed, and the court will recognize whatever the executive branch says, whether or not they recognize him as a head of state. So he will not get the immunity that he ordinarily would if he was a head of state. By the way, under international law, for example, before the International Criminal Court, they would not recognize any sort of immunity for a violation.
Well, as you mentioned ICC, I know the U.S. would have pulled out of the ICC at the turn of the century, so they're not part of that anymore. That was done with President Bush at the time. And my question remains, when we use that word we are throwing around, international law, is it truly relevant when it comes to the U.S. or any major superpower? Because we have seen what Russia would have established with Ukraine. Many are suggesting China might be emboldened now to treat with Taiwan as they they might treat with Taiwan. So where are we when we look at the global story at this point in time when it comes to international law? Does it apply to these massive powers of the world?
That's a very good question. International law, under international law, the courts have jurisdiction only if the nation states submit them. There's no a nation state has to decide even whether they wish to submit themselves to the compulsory jurisdiction of an international court. And ever since the Nicaragua case in the United States, the U.S. has withdrawn itself from a compulsory jurisdiction, for example, of the International Court of Justice, and is not, as you mentioned, signed on to the ICC. So those courts at this point do not have, the United States would not recognize their jurisdiction or the validity of their decisions, which obviously undermines the implementation and the enforcement of international law when it comes to a country that chooses not to abide by it. I'll mention one small thing, and that is most areas of international law the vast majority of countries comply with. Every time you put a letter in the mail, every time you make a phone call, though there are international agreements that make those things go through and complete every time there's a signed contract for a sale of goods. But when it comes to this area of public international law and the use of force or potential human rights violations, that's the one area where we still have a long ways to go to get the type of enforcement of the international rules.
Let's look now at the U.S. Constitution and their framework that guides military action. And from what I understand, Congress, they are the ones to sign off and treat with that particular action. We have seen this occasion and also with President Obama when he went for Gaddafi in Libya. They bypassed Congress and went in to treat with, at the point in time, the opportunity and the moment that they wanted to seize and extract the particular leaders. Is it deemed, could the president be in any problems at all? Is this a breaking of their own legal framework to pursue their military ambitions?
Yes, Congress has the constitutional authority to declare war, but that has been gradually eroded over time. The executive branch keeps asserting that the decision to take military action needs to be made in a place of privacy and quiet where there are no leaks and there can be surprise, and therefore they keep asserting that they can make the decision. All they need to do is to inform Congress of what they are doing at maybe even after they've taken the initial action. So at this point, there is, and the Supreme Court has upheld that. So at this point, the fact that this action was taken without any authorization from Congress doesn't have any real significant consequences legally here in the U.S.
So, Professor Connectley, are we in a new dimension, a new time where literally, I guess, a military engagement could happen at any moment wherever the president sees fit? Because yesterday on Air Force One, he would have mentioned Colombia. He mentioned Greenland for their strategic location. He finds that China and Russia, they have assets there, and he doesn't like that. He would have mentioned Mexico. A couple places would have been mentioned as potential targets. Are we in a new dimension? Is this going to be the new normal?
Well, some of us hope not, but it clearly is a blow to the rule of law. The more these types of incidents occur, both on the domestic level, as far as law is concerned, and also at the international level, because we also have gotten into discussion of whether this even follows international law, because there are huge questions as to whether this is at all legitimate under international law.
So no one can be held accountable for what transpired. I guess it will just be the normal theater that will play out in the court there in New York, and a judgment will be made in a couple months on, former President Maduro's involvement with narco-terrorism, or alleged involvement, may I say.
Yes. Unfortunately, at this point in time, that is most likely the scenario that will unfold. That there will be maybe a level of political accountability at some point, but as far as legal accountability goes, you'd first have to find out who could even bring a case to challenge this at the international level, and then secondly, whether or not that case would be recognized and abided by is in doubt.
Professor, let's take a small pause. I'm going to head to the 7 a.m. news, and let's continue with the conversation a little bit there after 7.
Sure.
See you soon.
Get the best back back-to-school specials at Southern Food Baskets. Lentil, £2 for $13.95. Red beans, £2, $19.95. Swiss Econopack ketchup, 750 ml, 3 for $19.95. Chubby, 3 cases for $100. Cool Kids, 2 cases for $100. Cheetos, 1.25 ounces, 4 for $19.95. Richport tuna flakes, 3-pack, $14.95. Richport vegetable oil, 3 liters, $39.95. Offers available while stocks last.
Each day I ask myself, how can our country be better than it was yesterday? We all hope for a better society, but not many understand the power of their influence to change the world around them. A small act of kindness holds as much power as a camera, a mic, or even a seat in the parliament when it comes to achieving societal development. I understand that my purpose extends beyond being a mere observer. I am an active participant in shaping the world around me. From the stories I write to the newscast I produce, it is my hope that everyone is heard and understood. We are where you are.
Whoa. Please, what do you think about the PNM in opposition?
Now, our opposition is a force. So, if the opposition opposes our next opposition, is it really our opposition? Do you think Barry will be able to give water to all? Okay, for that question, tune in to the rundown on CNC3. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Yeah. All right?
We're going.
Are we doing people's work?
Yeah,
No, people's work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here?
Yeah, but
no, it's done on CNC.
Make sure you have yourself a great investment week by viewing The Boss Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Boss Report. CNC3, covering your world.
Good morning, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Nicolas Maduro Guerra, son of Nicolas Maduro, is warning that the U.S. military operation, which captured his father and First Lady Celia Flores in Caracas, could set a precedent for similar actions against other countries. Speaking at the installation of Venezuela's National Assembly, he warned that no country is safe. According to him, today it's Venezuela. Tomorrow it could be any nation that refuses to submit. Maduro Guerra said the operation violated Venezuela's sovereignty, describing his father's capture as a kidnapping. He called for international solidarity to secure his return. As the United Nations convened an Emergency Security Council meeting on the U.S. military operation in Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago's ambassador Dr. Neil Parson made it clear that this country values its strong partnership with Washington in fighting transnational crime and safeguarding regional security. The ambassador's remarks came as the council convened urgently in New York to address the U.S. removal of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro from Caracas.
The delegation of Trinidad and Tobago wishes to underscore its long-standing relationship with both the United States and Venezuela and stands ready to work collaboratively with all partners who share the aspiration of a safer, more prosperous and stable hemisphere.
Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, Brazil, and Chile called the action a violation of the UN Charter and a threat to multilateralism, while Panama urged democratic transition in Venezuela and Argentina backed U.S. pressure. Meanwhile, Russia and China both condemned the U.S. for what it called illegal bullying against Venezuela. The arrest of ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by U.S. authorities has raised cautious hope among Venezuelan migrants in South Trinidad, but many remain unconvinced that conditions at home will improve. Some Venezuelan migrants living in Cedros have been returning to their home country over the past 2 weeks. However, locals could not say whether those who left over the weekend decided to leave TNT following Saturday's arrest of Maduro. As the news team visited the coastal community yesterday, the area was scarce, with only a few Warao migrants seen along Icacos Beach. Fishermen say the migrants who usually work along the beach had been picked up by a contractor for some onshore work. Carlos Panchori said although some migrants have left, many have stayed.
Who serve here? Seekers, Venezuelans. They're going back. They come back yesterday. In fact, last weekend, to the port of entry, they went back. But some still remain on the way. The ones that came up 2 years ago remain here until this incident happened.
Those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
So I continue with our conversation. We started inside the first hour and we move straight into this second hour. A law consultant and senior lecturer, Professor John Connectley, is with me on the Zoom line. And we established in the last hour, Professor, that clearly international law only is relevant to the countries that adhere to its structure and perimeters. So countries that do not subscribe, I guess, we're finding ourselves in a very interesting time, a new kind of dimension. Let's go back to before the abduction, before the snatching of President Maduro, and it all started a couple months ago with the blowing up of these boats. They were described as drug trafficking boats making their way to the U.S. Of course, there were legal arguments left, right, and center. People within our own government, they applauded that particular action, and even our commissioner of police would have mentioned that because of the action happening in the sea, we are seeing less drugs coming to the border, less guns that always accompanies the drugs. So the legal aspect of that action, could anyone be held accountable as we start to unpack and look at the way this particular development started in the region?
Yes, under international law, you can only use force if the UN Security Council authorizes it, or if it's an act of self-defense. Article 51 of the UN Charter preserves this inherent right of self-defense in the event of an armed attack. And the Trump administration has made this novel argument that involvement in the narcotics trade is actually an attack on the U.S. This argument has never been made before. And so they are saying they can respond now with force, just like any sort of military action. They can attack those who are attacking the U.S. That is their justification for attacking these boats without notice, and obviously killing the occupants of those boats. I think it's very doubtful whether any international court would uphold that rationale, that being involved in the narcotics trade is an attack on the U.S., even though people do die from the drugs and themselves. It's never been classified as such, but that is what their position is, and that's why they think it's justified.
So even with the double tap scenario, don't suspect anyone will be held accountable for such action?
Again, accountability requires that the country recognize the jurisdiction of an international court that would hear such a case, and the U.S., particularly under the current administration, would not recognize the jurisdiction of the court, and therefore would not abide by any decision that such a court would hand down. So the chances of them actually being held accountable in a court of law is very doubtful.
Professor, through your legal lens, is it wise for a public official to celebrate results gained through an illegal action? Because as I mentioned, we had public officials here in Trinidad who applauded the blowing up of these boats. A matter of fact, our Prime Minister mentioned when the very first boat was blown out of the water that, to kill them violently. And others would have said, yes, the scourge of drugs continues to cause havoc and mash up. That's a local word, mash up our communities. And obviously, even the commissioner got involved and said he's seeing a decline in drugs coming in. And so there were some gains, apparently, based on the empirical data. But is it wise for a public official to celebrate such action, even though there's still a legal argument as to how the action is perceived?
Yes, we've been focused on the legal aspect, but there's also the political aspect and the life of reality on the ground. As you just mentioned, if it has reduced drugs, I'm sure there are many people that are very happy with that, or they're happy with the idea that these people on these boats are being attacked, assuming that they are indeed trafficking drugs. I mean, no evidence has been put forward in any of these instances that they were indeed carrying drugs. And if we were operating, generally speaking, under the rule of law, and there's plenty of military force in the region, those boats should be arrested, and the gentlemen on this boat should be arrested and brought to a court of law and charged with drug trafficking. And then, if found guilty, they should be sentenced. That would be the process of law. But again, the Trump administration is holding that this has been an attack on the U.S. and they are acting in self-defense. So they view this as a war, a literal war, and therefore they can shoot these people without any warning, and they can shoot to kill.
Professor, as we wrap things up, I must ask, is it that this new reality, this dimension that we find ourselves in 2026, is it that we are, is it going to be a lawless, more or less, foreign policy style coming from President Trump and I would imagine his administration going forward? Because clearly it seems, from what you're saying, once you have the muscle and the military might, you can do what you want, and once you don't sign up to these international bodies, you have no one really to answer to, and you could go ahead and even bypass the Congress and just get the ball rolling and advance your particular position. In a nutshell.
There are a number of very serious concerns about where we're going now. The fact that the U.S. now claims to run Venezuela and to put in place its future government under the shadow of a gun, along with the demand by Trump to dominate the oil sector and extract compensation, will reawaken a number of uncomfortable memories of previous U.S. dominance in the region, whether it was under imperialism or colonialism. Secondly, you cannot say this was a law enforcement operation and then turn around and say, now we need to run the country. Those are two very different statements. But the other part is that this conflict is in its nascent stages. It's very unclear what will happen next. All of Maduro's appointments and political supporters remain in power, and they've shown no sympathy for what Trump has done. So this idea that the U.S. is now going to run Venezuela is very much up in the air, and this could get easily out of control. We'll have to see in the unfolding days and months what actually happens there. Plus, what does this say to Russia? What does this say to China? That if you wish to exert your power and authority in China going after Taiwan or Russia going into Ukraine, that if you think this is in your zone of interest or in your neighborhood, that you have the right to do it. It's hard to accuse them or tell them they cannot do that when we've taken action along these lines.
Professor, closing words. Is there any cause for us to be seriously concerned here in Trinidad and Tobago because, you know, many within the government, public officials are saying nothing to worry about. We have had no major conversation yet with our president or prime minister. No one of our top brass would have really addressed the nation on the matters. Obviously, our proximity to the action brings us right there in a front row seat if there's any kind of upheaval. But right now, Venezuela is very calm, and even Trinidad and Tobago, we are very calm. People seem to be just going about their normal business. Is that a good way to approach this? Is there cause for major concern, Professor?
Well, right now, because the current administration in Trinidad has endorsed the Trump administration approach, there doesn't seem to be any cause for concern. In fact, there may be an economic benefit to Trinidad here because with oil, as you know, oil and gas is such a huge part of the Trinidad economy. And now that a new government will be negotiating those contracts, Trinidad will probably get a better cut on the oil revenue. There's a good chance that they'll get a better cut. So this may inure to the economic benefit of Trinidad, and that was a decision that the current prime minister decided to make. And at this point, it seems to be a winning strategy as far as the economy is concerned, and as far as those oil and gas contracts.
Professor, sincere thanks. All the best, and let's monitor this ever fluid story, this moving development. All the best.
Jason, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. We take a pause and we'll try to open up the lines, give you a chance to get in, a few, and then we continue with our discussion. As mentioned, it's going to be an extensive one today regarding the developments out of Venezuela. We get a UN diplomat to share with us his perspective on the arrest. Dr. Leslie Rogers joins us later on, and as well, you know the drill on a Tuesday, as per usual. Our Digipreneur towards the end. But we come back with your calls live after the break.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Welcome. It's open forum time, a chance for you to touch base. Let's hear from you this morning. We say welcome and good morning. Hello.
Jason, good morning.
Morning.
Morning. All right, so here's what.
Hold on. Hold on.
Yes.
I want us to talk here. I don't even want us to talk about no issue. Let's deal with our particular situation from yesterday.
Right, and that's what I was heading towards. That's exactly what I was heading towards.
Right,
actually.
so I want to tell you firstly, let me tell you firstly, you're calling on my program here. So there must be a level of respect. We could disagree, but we do have to be disagreeable. Hold on, partner. This is where you take a pause and let me talk to you and then I'll listen. Right, because I listened to you for months. Your call yesterday, we allowed the first call as always. We had our conversation. Your call back, which we don't normally do. And I want you to understand that when I sit in this seat, do not ever again put any particular claim as to who I support, where I support, how I support, brother. You're not with me in no ballot box. I sit here as a citizen trying to pursue the interests of Trinidad and Tobago. And even when I was in the political space, for the little time I spent, for everybody who was looking on, they could have seen my heart and recognized it was about country, because all a political party is is a vehicle for you to try to do work to advance the interests of the country. So if you are some kind of paid activist, my brother, who consistently calling every day to bring a message, don't do that here. We could have conversations, but it don't have to be on that particular level where you are sending, you're shouting. And no, we don't go through that in 2026, bro. There must be a level of respect. There must be.
Good speech. All right. But let me talk now. All right. So here's what. You would have said something yesterday when we put down the phone that I would have called you, your cell phone, and give me the number, right?
Didn't you?
All right.
Didn't you?
Right. So let's listen to what I'm saying now. Who talking here? You talking or I talking?
No, I'm listening, brother, but you see, and that is the level of respect, bro. You listen, you have to, hold on, partner. Fix your tone. Let's fix your tone. Let's level it down. Let's take it down a little bit. All right, go ahead.
All right. So here's this. You would have said, you hear me, right?
Yeah.
You would have said that we spoke on the phone. You know the reason why I didn't call you back was because of the contents of the discussion that we would have had. And don't say that, if I'm not mistaken, that you would have made mention of this yesterday, that no other person, no other media personnel, right, would have given me their contact number. But I'll tell you this, right? Remember, you are not the only, or shall I say, CNC3 is not the only TV station that have it. There's Synergy. There's a very respected man by the name of Mr. Reese. All right, Mr. Reese, who conducts that program on Synergy, right? There's also Mr. Marlon Hopkinson on TV6, and who I liaise with very regular, right? So don't say that you are the only person that would have given me their cell number. And the reason why I didn't call you back was the contents. And if you could remember carefully, because you know said something about being Camegood. You now said something about the little time that you spent in the politics.
Right.
But you yourself admitted to me in the phone call itself, Jason. You yourself admitted to me.
And let me tell you, and because we had that, and because we had, and that is why it baffles me as to you will be accusing me all the time of supporting a particular party when I sit down here, bro. That blows my mind because we had a conversation off air. So all I'm saying to you is, Mr. Shagonas, two things. If you call in, call once, do not call twice. And when you call, it cannot be an unpaid political announcement every single day, bro. We hold power to account on this program, and we call for better governance across the board, regardless of who is in the seat. It's as simple as that, Mr. Shagonas.
Good speech, but I'll tell you this, right?
You see, good speech. You're being sarcastic, bro. You're not being serious. Let me ask you, are you a paid activist? They pay you to make these calls? Answer me on this question. Is that yes or no? Are you paid? You see, go on. Yeah, I'm not going through that. I'm not going through that with these paid activists. If that's your job, partner, to come and disrupt somebody's program, go somewhere else for that nonsense. We're here to call whoever is in the driver's seat out on what should be best for country, and I'm here to ask the questions, regardless of who's in the seat. It's as simple as that. And me and this man had a conversation off air with Trinidad and Tobago, and he constantly comes here to. I express certain things very private. I was very open, very honest with Mr. Shagonas. So the goal of that caller from Shagonas, who all we know is his voice. I don't know your face. You know my face. Nah, better than that, partner. A matter of fact, if you're so big and bad, come sit down on the couch. Let's have a debate. Yeah, come sit down. Check the send something to the email. Let's have a talk on the couch. If you present your face to the nation, come show your face. Who's next? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, Brother Jason. Take it down. Take it down.
No, I cool, you know. I cool, you know. Yeah. Bro, you know me. You know me. You watching me for all these years. You know I cool, but I do like them kind of energy.
Brother, let me tell you something. You see, people want to bring the personal agendas and things, which, but, if you and the man had a private conversation, I think he ought to respect that, and that was not supposed to be mentioned at all.
No, well, I only mentioned it yesterday, honestly, because he constantly comes with a particular attack towards me, and I'm not accepting that, because don't bring that to me.
Quite right. Anyway, just let me go along.
Yeah.
As I knew would have spoken in the past, and I told you there would be an extraction and not a war. You remember that? Yes? In Venezuela?
Yeah.
I said that there was not going to be no war. It was strategic, it was surgical, and it was done. Thank God, very few lives were lost. I mean, one life losing is too much, but in war and in love, everything is fair. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but my brother, I am saying to you that Delcy and Cabello and these people, they would be taken into custody and all, Jason. It's just a transition that Trump is trying to put in place. Because they are also indicted. They are wanted before the grand jury. So it's only a matter of time. They're just looking at this transitional period. And yes, as Dr. Ramnarine said, the Americans have had bilateral arrangements with America. Chavez run them out, takes their assets. Similarly, we have situations like that in Uganda. But more than that, I want the Prime Minister to listen carefully this morning. You see this thing about this heavy fines on your road in this bad condition when people's vehicles go down in there, the bulb blowing, wire breaking, and you want to put that is heartless, Jason. That is heartless to the average man. In my mind, they should have given them a 3 months grace period to get their vehicle up to spec, registered, and then they'll be there going, what are they going on with the government? They care about the poor people.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Faisal. Appreciate as always. Let's head now to Arima. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Jason. Compliments of the new year. All the best for 2026 for you and the entire team at CNC3. You all are doing, and the Morning Brew. You all are doing a great job.
Same to you.
It was very difficult getting through. I thought Mr. Chagonas had a direct link, and I'd like to say that man, he's up to mischief, and you all should stop him from calling into the program.
Well, you see, and that's the thing. I don't want to stop him because if I do that now, it will look like we're censoring him and we're trying to put a mute. And I think his voice is an important voice, but the reality is the voice must also be with respect because this is a show I commit myself to the show every morning. You can't come and want to talk down to me and talking loud. Like, what Shagonas feel it is? My uncle don't even talk to me so better than that. Because I could get loud, you see me coming, I could get on bad, but I choose not to. That's not my style.
Exactly. You have a blessed day. God bless.
All right, Arima. Yeah, come on, man. Better than that. And I just find the constant accusation. Like if this man, you not use a shadow you over me, you know who I supported? No, partner. No, trust me. And he of all people should know why I stand with certain things when it comes to the politics, especially what I would have gone through when I had my stint in his space. So don't come to me with that. When I sit down here, I call whoever is at the helm out on what I believe is best for country. Hence the reason I would have done certain segments for the last 4 years and stuff where we getting actual stuff being done. Calling out, those who I always say the powers that be. And that's our job here. That's the role and function. That's a role we take very serious. Who's out there? Good morning. We take one more. Morning,
yes,
Grandy.
Good morning to you, JW.
Morning, Grandy.
Yes, and to Trinidad and Tobago. No, I heard, Mr. Chagonas quarreling with you since yesterday. But even if you went up for a certain political party, right, that is your democratic right. Right? Just as how he has his democratic right to choose whoever party he's following or whatever. But what I will tell him is that I have something here on the Newsday. It's from the Newsday from Friday, the 25th of January, 2019. Right? It says the opposition leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, on Friday described the government of Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro, as a dictatorial government and said opposition support Juan Guaido as interim president of the country, right? So all around we are seeing that Ms. Persad-Bissessar, while on opposition, she was supporting Mr. Juan Guaido, right? Where they say that they're not for regime change in Venezuela. But look, the evidence is here. I didn't write this, right? So we are seeing where his leader is misleading the nation, right? And you are simply telling him that she had to make press conference, right, or press conferences and explain to the nation why the U.S. is setting up base in Tobago, Because, listen, I listened to CNN yesterday, and the journalist was saying the U.S. has a base in Trinidad, right? So, where did the world hearing that? But where the base is, JW, is in Tobago with the radar, right? So, I mean, we are Trinidad and Tobago, but the journalists outside, they may not know here, and they are saying that it's Trinidad.
Well, I'll tell you.
So, Mr. Shigonas, come clean. Let your leader tell this country what is going on, because all the leaders around the world address their country in press conference. I thank you very much, Jason, for allowing me the contribution.
And that was the point where me and Shigonas, we kind of crossed swords yesterday, because again, it's not me making any attack towards the current administration or the leadership. I'm just suggesting here that when it comes to leadership, whether in the public sector or private sector, your stakeholders, and in this case, in the public sector, we, the citizenry, the folks who live here, I think it's only fair that we are kept in the loop, given a sense of reassurance. That's all people really want, you know. And a matter of fact, I even call in the president, even though I know she is probably, what can she, I guess, say in this scenario, because she's not in charge of policy. But I think that was the point I was making yesterday, because we are seeing all over the region where their leaders, in Dominica, Skerrett, we saw in Barbados with Prime Minister Motley, different other leaders in Antigua, Gaston Brown, different people, touching base with the citizenry, and we're not hearing from our PM, and that's all I'm asking for. And we got into a whole big back and forth, and it's I'm not gonna ban him or not allow him to call. He could call every day, a matter of fact, but it can't be any kind of unpaid political announcement. We treat him with the issues and let's find solutions together, as opposed to just repeating talking points. And I ask you again, are you being paid? And if that's the case, well, eat your food, yes? Well, I can tell you, you're getting paid. Can't fight nobody down for eating our food, but there must be a level of respect. Must be a level of respect here. That's how we do it across here. We take the pause, we come back with our digipreneur, Karen Rose. He joins us next. See you soon.
All right, guys, today we're going to start a new topic, and that topic is entitled There is no way I could teach in all that noise. And there is definitely no way we children could learn in that noise of violence. They deserve more. That fear, that anxiety. We have to have our classrooms filled with joy, laughter, and hope, not fear. That is why I support the TCPS School-Oriented Policing Initiative. This is not just about law enforcement. It's about building trust. Parents, teachers, students, and officers all coming together to provide a safe space where young minds can flourish. If we all stand side by side, we can protect our children, keep them safe, and they can have a space to learn without anxiety and fear. I am ready to partner with the TTPS in fostering safe, respectful, and empowered schools across Trinidad and Tobago. It's not a simple task. We need parents, students, teachers, and communities to get involved. It's time to get on board.
Securing our schools, securing our future.
we're getting a chance to enjoy Karen here live on set because he will be leaving pretty soon, and I'm sure by next week back with us via the Zoom line, the use of technology to continue our most important conversations. And you could always enjoy Karen on Freedom every Friday as he continues to teach us all. It's a big learning curve, and let me tell you, well, Happy New Year. I think first time for the New Year.
Yes,
bro.
Happy New Year.
Yes, respect. I mean, we find ourselves in this particular time of AI and more so misinformation. Up till last night, Karen Rose, I'm watching some footage out of Venezuela, and I'm not even sure to believe what I'm seeing with my own eyes, because especially in military engagement or in times of war, rumors of war, misinformation, we know from since the beginning at time was a major strategy. And now with the kind of technology we have, they could take it up a whole notch to make you believe you're seeing stuff that doesn't even exist. Where are we, Karen Rose, in this 2026 as it pertains to fact-checking and misinformation and the use of AI to generate the misinformation?
It is insane where we're at, right? As they said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And what people don't understand is we are at a time where things are changing so fast. The technology is getting better every single day. It's also getting cheaper. I just shown you this quick video. This is something I just did on my phone while just chilling in the lobby, right? You were able to make ultra real videos. Goodness. This is a video what he is seeing of ladies dancing in carnival, drinking in Port of Spain.
Just look like something you took last year on the road to Tribe or something.
You could easily think that, right?
Gee, you just showed us?
I just did it in the lobby whilst I was just waiting.
Oh,
right?
On Gemini?
Yeah, on Gemini, right? So the point is, people can make these types of videos for free. This didn't take no time. This didn't cost me no money. I did this on my phone for nothing, right? So people are able to manufacture almost any and everything at almost no cost. And this is different from years ago, because before you needed to have the expertise, you needed to have the equipment, you need to have the software. These things cost money, and they also cost you time to learn the skill sets. But now, with the age of AI and the tools that we have, people do not need the required knowledge to do these things, nor do they need to have, they don't have to spend a penny to manufacture these types of videos.
So through the keen eye, because I know, I mean, some are so good you're not too sure. Then there's some you could tell with the movement it's not as fluid, it's not as natural as the human body would move in its natural movement. Is there any way, what are some things to look for to be able to say, okay, that is AI,
we can no longer trust what we see, because the thing is
that good?
What did you just see?
Well, I mean, yes,
right. The thing is, right?
It's just looking. I mean, the reason I know is AI. No, it looks good, but everything looking so perfect now. Everybody looking like pristine.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What we have been accustomed to is what you were just alluding to, looking for flaws. My point is, the tools are getting so good that the flaws that we would have been looking for previously, because the tools are getting better, you're not seeing those same flaws. So the point is, you now can't trust what you see. What we have to start getting into the habit of is now you need to start verifying through multiple sources. First things first, when you see a piece of content, whether it's a video content, whether it's written content, we tend to react emotionally immediately, right? You see a fisherman boat get blown up, we react immediately. And there was some fisher boats that were blown up, and it was like, well, we're not even hearing about it from the Venezuelan side. The Venezuelans came out and said, that actually didn't happen. And then you don't even know what to believe at that point. So first things first, when you are seeing a lot of the content that is being posted online, try not to have an immediate emotional reaction. And then you want to take a step back and you want to start to now verify through multiple sources.
Where do we go to verify?
So get a couple of places that you feel comfortable with, like the Al Jazeeras of the world, the BBCs. Find some credible sources that you could rely on, right? And anytime you're seeing some big news, don't just take it at face value. You want to start seeing who else is talking about it. Again, you're not even looking at one media house anymore. Now you need to cross-reference with a couple of media houses, because what is happening right now is we are seeing some ultra real videos. And this is, you know what, the reason why I decided to do this segment right now is because a couple of days ago, there was a video of an American Airlines plane that was looking through an emergency landing, and the tower was telling the pilot they cannot land because the presidential plane, Air Force One, is coming in, and that takes precedence. That started to spread like wildfire here, and then it turned into a political debate on what should be happening. And my first thought was, do people not realize that this is fake? And all it took was for me to look at the situation, go online, check a couple of sources. Heck, you could even use AI to verify if it's AI, right? Because what the AI tools can do is they can now search and parse through thousands of websites to verify, and they can come back and say, hey, there is no verifiable source that is talking about this. This is more than likely an AI-generated situation.
For those who do that intentionally, to create that kind of upheaval, that kind of a disruption, is there any framework in place to hold them accountable at this point in time? Because anyone could go on, create something for that same impact, to misinformation, to throw people off, or to put myself in place. You could create anything, and people see it and they're like, hey, look, Karen and JW, they're kicking a dog or something, and people said, come at us. And next thing the video is fake.
So we've seen this actually where multiple media personalities' likeness, their images were used to promote investment scams. We've been seeing that. That was 2025, right? In terms of holding people accountable, the problem is that the systems that are in place locally tend to be very slow. And even if you can get a cease and desist, or you can put out an official statement, half the time the damage is already done. And the damage is done because most people cannot discern, or they're not willing to discern. They're not willing to take a step back and say, hey, is this actually true? Let me go and see if this person is talking about it on their official platforms. You cannot take anything anymore at face value. Whatever you see, whoever is saying it, you need to start cross-referencing. So if I see your face and you're promoting an investment scam, did JW promote this on his own official platforms, right? If you're not even willing to do that and you're just resharing the fraud posts, you're contributing to the problem. So people need to take a step back and discern and order and verify, because honestly, when it comes to holding anybody accountable, as you had your guest lecturer from earlier on today, if a country doesn't subscribe to international court of law, the legal system can be very tricky. So I don't want to say that that's going to be the first line of defense. People need to be the first line of defense and discern between what's real and what's not.
Well, in all fairness, we're seeing this current administration, being very stern on online language. If you're sending any threats, we have seen last year where people were held accountable, and I think there's a clear message. You can't use the internet to deliver any kind of threat, verbally, written. We know there's the revenge porn policy in place, so that is, there's some protection in that regard. But is there any kind of legal framework, or do we start very soon having these conversations about AI and somebody formulating a whole conspiracy using somebody's image and likeness?
We actually have to. We have to. And the funny thing is, the more we are starting to venture down these roads, then you start to look at China and what China has built. They have built their own internet, and they monitor everything. And the reason they do that is to combat this exact same thing. So here's the thing. Being on that side of the world, we here in the Western world would look at what China has built and be like, that is way too restrictive. However, the Chinese population, they look at what they have built and they say, we don't want to end up like the Western world. We don't want people to just be able to go online, create anything, and say anything and be able to get away with it. That is what we are combating against. So we are going to start having some very interesting conversations moving forward, where we're going to have to start figuring out a way to hold people accountable. We in Trinidad, we're a small island state. we don't control the internet. We cannot influence the internet. The bigger countries can. And we are seeing, this is why countries like Australia, Indonesia, the UK are putting restrictions. We don't want people under 16 to be able to use it. Everybody's trying to figure out how to kind of moderate the internet moving forward because of everything that it's coming with right now.
If you're on the receiving end of a misinformation campaign, Karen, what's your advice to the person who is living that, going through that? How do they find a way to speak to the audience and debunk what is being established based on the misinformation campaign? I
think one of the most important things right now is people need to understand how to develop their personal brand, how to utilize their platforms, because if you have been building your personal brand and you know how to use if you have a website, if you have your social media platforms, if you can start to build your brand, when these types of fraudulent pieces of content get put out about you, people can have something to go back and reference. Like, hey, this is very out of character for JW. I've never heard JW talk about cryptocurrency at all. Like, you just go to this person's platforms, you look at the way they talk. He has never spoken about cryptocurrency. Why now would I go and believe that? But at least people have something to kind of reference. So if you can kind of start learning how to build a personal brand, that's going to help defend against any type of AI and misinformation.
But should we also address it head on? Should I make like a public statement? Should the person who's on the back end of that come out and say, listen, see what we're on here? This is... Right.
100%. You have to do that.
Deal with it head on.
You have to do that. Get out ahead of it. Hey, my name is being used because, again, there's somebody with a very similar name to mine, and they were doing investment and crypto and whatever types of scams. And the name ended up in a kind of wrong style. And now, and my name ended up, a politician used my name and used my face on a political platform.
Imagine that.
And it was not me. It was the other person.
Wow.
Right?
So imagine you could have actually asked for you could have gone down a legal road with that,
Well, we've started the legal road, but here's the funny thing, right? Because of the foreign exchange situation, even if I were to win the judgment, I still can't even get the money out. I'm rich in Trinidad. I broke everywhere else. I still can't even get the money out.
Yeah. Wow. It's true, yes, I remember that. It's true. So, and again, that is not fact-checking.
It's not fact-checking, but here's the scary part, right? The other person, they're very public. They use their face. They're the face of all of their videos and their content. So when people are mistaking me for that person, is it that you're not even looking at the person's face and you're giving them your money? You're not even listening to their voice? People will come and say, like, hey, that man have a convent accent, right? He don't even speak Trini. But the other person, heavy Trini accent. So we don't look alike, we don't sound alike, and yet we're still getting mistaken. And it's all comes back down to people not even discerning with what they're looking at and what they're listening to, and still parting with their hard-earned money.
And that should be the same approach if you represent, let's say, a company, a brand. I mean, so we just dealt with the individual on the back end of it, but what about companies or a particular brand or a business that's coming up and somebody decides to do a smear campaign, AI, they create some kind of misinformation campaign? The approach should be the same? Deal with it head on?
You have to deal with it head on. And again, this is why we're having a conversation, because digital literacy has to be put in the forefront moving forward in TNT, right? There's only so much a company can do, right? They can get out ahead of it. They can go on their platforms. They can issue statements. But most times the damage is done. And people need to start learning how to tell what is real, what is fake. And it's going to be harder and harder to do that as the technology continues to get better, because even for what I just showed you, right? This is the worst the technology is ever going to be. Technology doesn't regress. It only gets better. And what we don't realize is the technology is getting better at the speed of light right now. So people are going to have to figure out, how do we start learning how to discern between what is real, what is fake, what is AI generated? Take a step back. Try not to react overly emotionally and get charged up, because as soon as people are seeing things, they're getting riled up and they take right to social media, they share it, they add their opinions, they get their own people to start commenting, and then all of a sudden this manufactured video has legs and it's starting to grow. So unless we can get people to start saying, hey, let me take a step back, let me start to verify, let me look, did the person actually say it? Let me go to their platforms. Did the person actually say it? And can we start to now look at other sources to verify whether this was actually true or not?
We're in such an interesting time because obviously seeing is believing. And there are many, especially our more mature citizens. We're talking here our parents, grandparents. They're very active on the phone, they're on the social media, they're on the Facebook, and stuff will come up and they will forward it.
Yes.
And they are being, I mean, a lot of them are being, I mean, they're getting tricked.
Yes.
I mean, and I guess we need to probably have a conversation too with our parents and grandparents, or we're asking granny and mom and dad also to probably just probably verify too.
Everybody has to, because remember, when they are being influenced by the content, that could change a vote. That could determine how they spend their money. That could determine meaningful actions in the real world, right? So what I would love to see is, this is, I think, an area that the Ministry of Digital Transformation and AI, or Public Admin and AI, this is something that has to be high on their bucket list in 2026, because again, we don't know what to trust. Before, seeing was believing. But now, when the content, like, look at the situation with Maduro. How many, right now, one of the fun arguments is, how many outfit changes did he go through from Caracas to New York? It was about 6 outfits.
Yeah.
And even his latest outfit, the Nike Tech.
Yeah, sell off.
It's sell off.
Gone, yeah.
So these things have real world impact. And until people can start to now, like I said, discern between what is real, what is fake, learn how to verify what is true, what is fact from fiction, what is AI, it's easy for them to commit to real world actions for the simple fact that they don't even know what they're looking at anymore.
Karen, as we wrap things up, what's your New Year message to Trinidad and Tobago?
AI is one of the, it's a double-edged sword. It's one of the best tools that everybody can use to transform their skill sets, to improve productivity, but at the same time, it can be one of the most detrimental things to societies right now. And we are seeing both of those things play out in real time. My message to everybody starting off the year, take time to learn, to elevate your digital literacy. Take time to learn about AI, the good and the bad, and I want you now to start taking a pause and discern between what is real and what is fake, because we have seen just in a couple of weeks, in the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of fake content that people are running with. And if you do not know how to discern between what is real and what's fake, it's going to put you in a situation where you make the wrong investments, you make the wrong decisions, and decisions have a lot of consequences, and we are seeing those things play out in real time.
Karen Rose touching base with us. First conversation for 2026. Safe travels back, my friend.
Thank you, good sir. I'll see you on the other side.
Yes, Karen Rose, digipreneur, and that's the first of so many more impactful conversations for 2026. We take the pause and we come back to officially pull the curtains down. See you soon.
This country real backward. You can't even report crimes online. Actually, since 2020, you could report your crimes online. And it's fast, easy, and secure. Let me show you how to do it in just a few simple steps. First, visit our official website at www.ttps.gov.tt. Then, click on Report a Crime, located at the top right corner of the homepage. After which, choose the option that suits your concern. Report a crime or report a suspicious or abandoned vehicle. Next, read the disclaimer, then fill out the form giving all the required information about the incident. Finally, once all required information is entered accurately, click Submit to send your report directly to the TTPS. Once your report is submitted, our Operations Command Center will review it and send it to the relevant division, branch, or section for classification and follow-up action. And yes, police officers will respond or communicate with you for more information in order to properly assess and take the necessary action. So the next time you need to report a crime or a suspicious vehicle, you don't even have to leave your home. Report it online and help us make our communities safer.
Welcome back. Before we pull the curtains down, we must treat with the biggest story clearly in the region and by extension the world right now. And as we look at the story through our strategic lens, just days after his dramatic removal from Caracas, Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty in a New York court to drugs and weapon charges. Weapons, a matter of fact, is not even one, it's more than one. Now, the U.S. operation that brought him there continues to cause concern across the Caribbean, with leaders and experts warning of dangerous consequences for sovereignty, security, and regional stability. Doris Polo takes us through this story.
Deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was arraigned in a New York court on drugs and weapons charges on Monday, pleading not guilty, days after his dramatic removal from Caracas in a U.S.-led operation that has sent shockwaves across the Caribbean. The unprecedented move has triggered sharp regional concern, with leaders questioning the legality of the action and its implications for sovereignty, stability, and security in the hemisphere. In Dominica, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit urged restraint.
Dominica reiterates its call for the rule of law to be observed and for ongoing diplomatic efforts to ensure Venezuela's stability, good governance, democracy, and peace.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, opposition leader Dr. Ralph Gonsalves criticized CARICOM's muted response after the U.S. attack, arguing the regional bloc failed to confront what he described as a clear breach of international law by the United States. He also said CARICOM's statement fell short of warning Caribbean citizens about the potential consequences of a destabilized Venezuela should the U.S. put boots on the ground.
A lot of people are going to get killed. A lot of people are going to run out of Venezuela, good and bad people, and you only need a handful of bad men and women to come to any of these islands to create mayhem.
As regional leaders weigh their response, international relations experts warn the fallout could be far-reaching. International relations professor at the University of the West Indies, Professor Mikhail Powinski, says the removal of a sitting head of state violates established global norms and sets a dangerous precedent. He adds that increased tensions could lead to skirmishes in Venezuela that can negatively impact the wider Caribbean, including TNT. Mexican journalist and political analyst José Luis Granado Ceja described the episode as part of a wider pattern of U.S. intervention in the region, and he warned the government to choose its allies wisely.
She's unfortunately played into this game, even more recently talking about how there are people in the region with narco-trafficking ties, kind of a not-so-subtle commentary on other leaders in the region trying to position herself and her government as being an ally of the United States. But as we just finished saying, that is not a safe strategy. I think that the wise decision is to proceed very cautiously. Just because you are on the side of Donald Trump today does not mean that that will be the case in the future.
And IR fellow Dr. Joshua Philip Walcott said Trinidad and Tobago's cautious posture reflects uncertainty over how Venezuela's political transition will unfold.
It's still early days, right? The next 48 hours, the next week is really important to see what will come out on the other side. You know, is there a military coup? Is there a descent into chaos? Do we see cartels start running the roost, let's say, in Venezuela?
Questions were posed to the Prime Minister following Maduro's arraignment, including whether she supports the comment from the UN Secretary General that Donald Trump broke international law, if she was concerned that what happened to Venezuela can happen in another part of the Caribbean, and her thoughts on Maduro's not guilty plea. She did not respond up to news time. Doris Polo, CNC3 News.
Thank you so much, Doris. Now, yesterday we asked, do you think the United States removal of Nicolas Maduro is justified? Here's what some of you had to say.
The America is an unfair place, so, wherever them want to do, they're doing it. So, they see an easy prey, so they're going in the man place to do what they have to do, to interfere with the man things, but nothing more than oil they want.
I'm not sure about that. There are other consequences that need to be answered. I suppose in a few days we will find out what's going to happen.
No. I understand that, he might have his reasons for thinking that, he could take Maduro or whatever, but from my perspective, at the end of the day, he is United States president, and whatever goes on in Venezuela has nothing to do with him. Yes, I understand the trading and the parties or whatever, but I think if there's a problem with Maduro, I think if we can express our complaints and concerns, but at the end of the day, he has no right to try to capture Maduro, as they said, because he is also breaking international laws by the way he did it and doing these things. It's not his place to do.
It is left to be seen. I cannot do a prediction at this time. We don't know if it will be good or it will be bad. So we have to wait and see.
No, it was unfair. They just jumped in somebody's place and take the leader. That don't sound good. So it could happen to anybody anywhere. They could do what they want. So leave the bully, let the bully alone, right?
Yeah, I would think so. It was justified.
The fourth person we talked to there, we spoke to the lady by licensing, very fashionable. I like her style. You could see she's a lady, puts herself together, real extra special. And of course, to all those who would have given their commentary, we thank you so much. Listen, anytime you see the CNC3 team, they come into your area and we have the microphone, don't be shy. Share with us, because your opinion is highly valued. And I think it's important to add your voice in this very fluid story. So many moving parts, and today we stand by for what's next. We wait and see, and at least in the meantime, I guess, we only could treat and control what's in front of us and what we have to deal with. So we still have to go about our business and put in our work and pay our bills and treat with whatever responsibilities are in front of us at this point in time, because as much as we give our commentary, there are certain things that's beyond our control. But we can still lift our voice, our collective voice, and ask for better and ask the questions, because obviously this scenario will impact all of us. So with that being said, be safe, have a great day, TNT, and God spare, I'm back for more tomorrow.
The Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.